This is a steal for the Eagles, as a brand new report has dropped surrounding one player in particular with all-star upside. And we're going to get into exactly who this player is, why he has fans fired up, what the trade compensation would look like for this player, and how he is going to affect this Eagles offense heading into the Week 8 matchup against the New York Giants. How's it going, folks? Jack here with another video, and what a fun game that was on Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. That was a huge statement win for the Eagles. You saw Jalen Hurts over 300 passing yards, which we don't get to see from him a lot, but in the passing game this year, I think he's definitely been more effective through the air. We also had great defense. We had all the receivers were getting involved. We had Smitty and AJ both going for over 100 receiving yards. That was awesome to see. I think that was a big statement win for the Eagles, coming back after 2 straight losses from the Broncos and Giants. 2 very easily winnable games, avoidable losses in my opinion, but we're going back to the Giants next week for Week 8. Pretty crazy to say that we're at the halfway mark for the NFL regular season. So let's get into the news from today, guys. Let's look at this report here from Mike Luciano that says that the Tennessee Titans might be able to help the Eagles out, as they just fired head coach Brian Callahan, and that they might be gunning for tight end Chig Okonkwo, who is one of the better receiving tight ends in the AFC. He continues on by saying that while it looks unlikely that Patullo will be back for 2025, I just want to say that Patullo for Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings, he definitely improved his play calling from the weeks prior from Denver and New York. He got everybody involved, which is nice, but we obviously didn't see Saquon Barkley get as involved as we would have liked. That's another topic that we're going to touch on, but just continuing on for this article, he says that if the Eagles like Okonkwo, they might inadvertently stumble their way into a long-term replacement. Why try to add someone via the NFL draft when the best case of action might be letting Goddard and Okonkwo combine their might for the rest of 2025 before coming together on an agreement that makes Okonkwo the starter for 2026. Okonkwo has caught over 50 passes in each of the last 2 seasons, despite playing with a past his prime Ryan Tannehill and the always inconsistent Will Levis. With a rookie number 1 pick, Cam Ward, Okonkwo is leading the Titans in catches and is still second in receiving yards. Now, Chig Okonkwo is a kind of a polarizing player in the NFL. I think he was the consensus around 7th, 8th tight end ranked for his draft class. He was drafted in 2022. He actually ended up being the 4th overall tight end that was taken. That draft class had tight ends such as Isaiah Likely and Trey McBride, who are excellent players in their own right. But Chig Okonkwo in college, he was most prominently known for his speed. This is one of the fastest tight ends in the NFL. He is an absolute sonic when it comes to running his routes. It's been reported that his route running is a little inconsistent, but he is a fast player, which you don't see at the tight end position a lot. You don't see tight ends really going for these go routes, these go balls, running really in the straight line, going for the end zone. You don't see that a lot, but Chig Okonkwo is one of those guys that can do that. He can run any kind of route you want him to. If he's on the right team and he's got the right play caller, which some people might argue that he doesn't in this right with Kevin Patullo, but if you give him a weapon like Chig Okonkwo, where he can improve his catching, he can improve his hands, he can improve his route running, he can use that speed to his advantage, of course. And having a tight end that can, run faster than your wide receivers is a pretty good advantage in that right. Another thing to look at for Chig Okonkwo is that he might be a replacement for Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert he's coming off a contract year here. His contract was restructured this past summer. There were some rumors that he might be traded, which I obviously didn't want to hear that. I really love Dallas Goedert. He helped us get to 2 Super Bowls. He's a top 6 tight end when healthy. He's an adequate run blocker. He's all right in the blocking game. He's all right in pass protection. He's not the most dominant run blocker when it comes to that, but he is an excellent receiving tight end. He's one of the best in the NFL. He is an absolute star for the tight end position when he's not injured, which he hasn't been this year, which is great. He is very prone to get injured, which we obviously hope that doesn't happen to him this season. But I think that if you pair someone like Dallas Goedert with Chig Okonkwo, I think that could be a big benefit for this offense. There's not a lot of teams that run a 2 tight end offense. I know that the only team that I really see do it is the Baltimore Ravens. They do it with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely because they're not super deep at the receiver position besides Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. They don't really have that much talent there in the receiving game. But running a set like that on offense is great. It can be great for when you're running the ball specifically. And, running the ball has not been the Eagles' strong suit this season. season, that has been a big question mark and a huge turning point for this team. It's been brutal to see that Saquon Barkley has not been involved in the offense. The play calling for the run game has just been so predictable and inconsistent. I guess you could say it is consistent in the right that it's completely average and it's completely predictable, and defenses know exactly what they're going to do. They know exactly what direction he's going to run. They know what kind of run type it is. They know if it's going to be a counter, a stretch, if it's just going to be a dive through the A gap. It's just been awful. So obviously we need to clean that up. Kevin Patullo needs to kind of rally with the running backs. He needs to go with Tank Bigsby, A.J. Dillon, Saquon Barkley, and figure out exactly what kind of run schemes they need to implement in this team, because it's been awful to see. Saquon Barkley was voted the best player in the NFL last season. He was number 1 on the NFL top 100. So seeing him not repeat even close to his production last year has just been really, really tough to see. But just to kind of circle back here on Okonkwo, that it's been obviously very bad to see that the offense has not been. It's been stagnant. It's not been great this year. It's predictable. It's just average. It's not what it was last year. So if we got a player like Okonkwo, I think Howie Roseman might want to give up maybe, I don't know, I'd say around maybe a 5th round pick for someone like him. He hasn't proven himself in that right. Okonkwo hasn't. He hasn't really put on display what he can do. He's been one of the top targets for the Titans, with when Ryan Tannehill played there, and now he's one of the top targets there with Cam Ward. Calvin Ridley's obviously there, and he's a very talented receiver in his own right. He's a former All-Pro with the Atlanta Falcons, but he hasn't been able to repeat that same production. But that's a testament to the Tennessee Titans' pretty dysfunctional offense. We know how talented that Cam Ward is as well, but he hasn't had the opportunity to get Okonkwo very involved in the offense in his own right. We know how talented Okonkwo is. Coming out of college, I've said it before, he was one of the fastest tight ends in the draft, faster than some tight ends, which is a very, very rare thing to see in a tight end. Most tight ends are not running go balls. They're not running big crossing routes. They're kind of just running across the middle of the field. They're running some curl routes, but they're really great for after the catch. And I think Okonkwo is one of those players that can do that. If the Eagles are ending up going to trade for him, I think he can be a great target for Jalen Hurts as well. Jalen Hurts obviously has his troubles in the passing game, but not obviously this Sunday. That was that in its own right an amazing game to watch. But I think if you got a player like Okonkwo involved in the offense, I think if he is on the Eagles, I think he can kind of turn this offense around. I think he's a great player to have. I think he would do great on this offense. But just one more thing to kind of dive into before we end off this video today. Going into this game against the New York Giants, this run game needs to change. It's brutal. I know we touched on it previously already, but I want to really, really, really hammer down on this topic before we go into New York. I think we're at Lincoln Financial Field for this game. Excuse me if I'm wrong, but you can see here that Saquon Barkley hit most of his runs from Sunday against the Vikings were just from the middle left and the middle right, which is on the left side or the right side of the center. That is just totally predictable. That is the defense knows exactly what's going to happen when you're running the ball with him. But let me know what you guys think down below. Give me a score prediction for this game against the New York Giants. Do you think the defense is going to let up 5 touchdowns again? Certainly hope not. Hope that's not the case. But let me know what you guys think down below. You think Jalen Hurts is going to have another great offensive game through the air? You think he's going to use his legs? It's been pretty unpredictable so far this season. But let me know what you guys think down below. Go Birds. Thanks a lot, guys.